Welcome, Dr. Ashrawi. Thank you so much for accepting our invitation and joining us for this special event, as this year marks 72 years of the ongoing Palestinian Nakba. I have with me Hiba Farra. She's a Palestinian lawyer, lives in Western Australia, who will also ask a couple of questions. Let me start by...
Thank you for inviting me, and it's good to see you and to see Hiba. Long distance though, but I hope everybody's well these days in this trying days. Yes.
So Dr. Ashrawi, let me start by the annexation plan. We all know about the Israeli annexation plan with American support, of course, to annex the settlements, Jordan Valley, Area C, other Palestinian lands. So what is your response to this plan? And how will the Palestinian Authority deal with it?
Well, we've been having, of course, regular meetings at the PLO with the Palestine National Council, Palestine Central Council, even before the declaration of the annexation plan. And lately, the Executive Committee has been meeting non-stop in order to not just to follow up, but to put together a plan of action. Let's place this annexation plan in context, okay? First of all, Israel has been annexing. Israel has been implementing an expansionist plan, a plan of appropriation, expropriation, and expansion, or what I always call the displacement replacement paradigm. They're taking over all of Palestine, trying to establish greater Israel on all of Palestine without any accountability, without any intervention. Now, and they've been doing it gradually, incrementally. Now there are new factors at play here. You have, first of all, the coronavirus, which has shifted attention. The whole world is dealing with these health issues, with the pandemic, and with how to survive physically and economically and so on. And Israel has used this as a cover to really expand effectively on the ground. Build more settlements, take more land, the E1 settlement, the south of Jerusalem expansion, increasing settlement outposts, and so on. And that, in a sense, has given Israel greater cover, greater incentive. Second, it's the new alliance within Israel, the government of the right wing and the extreme right wing. They're all right, actually. But Netanyahu succeeded at this point in totally fragmenting and deconstructing the opposition. And unfortunately, blue and white and so on played the game. They sold out their allies, they sold out the Palestinian Arabs in Israel, the joint list. They sold out the left wing and the opposition, and in many ways they ended up in a sense, going to bed with the Likud and with the extreme right. And so now you have a very clear right-wing, racist, expansionist, fascist government in Israel, and effectively having deconstructed and destroyed any real opposition. And it has marginalized the left. So that's another factor also within Israel. And the third factor, of course, which is crucial, is the American collusion. We don't call it support, we call it complicity, collusion, because the Americans are actively involved in undermining Palestinian rights and destroying the chances of peace and enabling Israel to pursue its policies of expansionism, destruction, ethnic cleansing, systematically. It encourages Israel, it incites. I mean, if you listen to Friedman, he is to the more extreme right than the most right Israeli. And he's the so-called American ambassador. And they introduced also the ideological component in the fundamentalist evangelical Zionist Christians in the US. And so the language has become, it's not political, it's not legal, it's not human rights, it's only ideological, it's only fundamentalist biblical. And along with that, you have, of course, the extreme pro-Israeli lobby. You have organizations like AIPAC and others. along with the evangelicals and so on, who formed the base electoral, you all know that, of Trump. And so we are now seeing an American active involvement taking unilateral measures illegally in order to consolidate Israel's hold over all of Palestine, Israel's illegal annexation of Jerusalem, and taking collective punitive measures against the Palestinians because we refuse to surrender, basically. So what, yeah, by defunding and attempting to destroy UNRWA, they are punishing the most vulnerable population of Palestine, the refugees. And then by defunding the hospitals in Jerusalem, another vulnerable population, people who are in need of medical care and health. And then they defunded everything. They stopped any cooperation and funding for Palestinian projects, infrastructure projects, scholarships, everything stopped completely. And they closed down our offices in Washington. So they broke relations, and they closed down the consulate in Jerusalem that was established, American consulate that was established in 1844, which was the American diplomatic mission to Palestine. Yeah. So they are rewriting history now also, not just reshaping the future. And they did all that in addition, of course, to attempting to annex. Of course, they annexed the Golan Heights, which are Syrian territory, we mustn't forget. The Americans condoned the annexation of the Golan Heights. So in a series of steps, the US administration, the Trump administration, moved way even beyond the Israeli extremist right-wing government, and they couldn't believe their luck. Add to that the fourth element, which is not just the American collusion, but the timidity of the rest of the world, or the collusion of other members of the international community. Europe has become timid, self-effacing. They never intervened. They never put curbs and limits to Israeli behavior. They never held Israel to account. They never even implemented their own legislation in relation to their own agreements with Israel, whether it's association agreement or neighborhood agreement or Horizon 2020. So we see a lack of will to stand up to Israel. And of course, Israel in many ways has intimidated many decision makers, particularly by calling branding anybody who criticizes Israel as anti-Semitic, and criminalizing BDS, anybody who wants to boycott Israel or use his or her right to be ethical, responsible consumers or investors. So in many ways, it created a whole sphere, a whole culture around its own impunity, while criminalizing people who are, and labeling and branding people who are criticizing Israel for its lawlessness and impunity. So all these things together have created a perfect storm, let's say, for Israel. And now it's in a race against time to annex what it calls legally, in other words, to have the Israeli law apply to the West Bank, and then to annex the Jordan Valley and the north of the Dead Sea, and of course all the major settlements. They want to annex all. Friedman is telling them to annex Beit El, right next door here, and to annex others. So that's where we are now. Yeah. Historically, Israel has been violating all agreements, has been violating international law. The real problem has been with Israeli impunity, lawlessness, and its ability to get away with it, while the Palestinians are deprived of the protection of the law or any type of positive intervention.
Thank you, Dr. Ashrawi. And actually, with all these struggles and challenges you've just mentioned, and these challenges are facing Palestinian people and the Palestinian Authority. So how do you view the Palestinian future?
Yeah, look, the Palestinian Authority as an authority is a construct. It is an institutional system to deliver services and build institutions at the behest of the PLO. The political address for the Palestinians, the representative body for all Palestinians everywhere, in the West Bank, Gaza, in exile, in refugee camps, everywhere, is the PLO. It's the political voice, the political representative body. So the PA has been, carrying out professional services, has been doing, and I think lately with this coronavirus, has been doing a very good job in terms of trying to protect the people and deliver services. I have to say this very honestly, and I don't say this lightly. Don't think I've said it before, but when I saw how they worked and they took steps and very professional, responsible steps, and we don't have such a vast number of people infected or dying and so on. So in many ways, they're doing their job. It's a professional institutional service delivery body that was set up by the PLO in 1993-94 in order to take care of the lives of people, to run the lives of people for a period of time, until the end of the interim phase, in order to prepare for the transition to independence and statehood. Unfortunately, things extended and the PA continued and the PLO was weakened, and of course the international community wanted to deal with the PA because they wanted to deal with a functional approach rather than the political legal approach. So now we have a decision that it is the PLO that should take over. It is the PLO that should be responsible. It is the PLO that should not only just be in charge of a political decision, but should be the real, I don't want to say power, but the real decision maker. And to deal with the international community on that basis, because they were quite happy to deal only with institutional issues and funding and so on, which is what Israel wants. It doesn't want the right to self-determination. It doesn't want a people with national rights, with political representation that involves all Palestinians everywhere. So now we are saying now the whole shift should take place to restore, revive, reform the PLO.
Great. I totally agree with that. It should take the lead again. Yes.
Yeah, exactly. It's been weakened gradually, and actually the West were, they were very happy not to see the PLO. But the PLO itself has the responsibility of re-establishing itself on the political map because it has the recognition internationally, it has the standing internationally and within international bodies, and therefore it should take away this whole context of the Palestinians as being a people who need services and money and so on, to a people who are, who have the right to self-determination, who have a whole body of rights and who have the right to join organizations, institutions, and to hold Israel accountable and so on, which is what we've been doing lately by going to the ICC and of course getting punished for it by presenting cases, by joining international organizations that the US doesn't want us to join, and by laying claim to our rights on the basis of international law.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you so much, Ashrawi. Hiba?
Dr. Hanan, it's a great honor to be able to speak to you today.
Thank you.
You have mentioned in one of your talks before that your late father had a statement that is so close to your heart. Liberate yourself and you'll liberate your land. I suppose that is precisely what the people of Gaza realized when they decided to approach the fence that stands in the way between them and their villages and cities that they have originated from. Could you please talk to us about the significance of the Great March of Return?
Yeah, it's a very important development in the history of struggle. The Palestinians, because they've been subject historically to an ongoing, as you rightfully say, Nakba, a continuum of oppression, dispossession, dispersal, and exile, uprooting people and so on, and at the same time maintaining effective control of enslavement over the others. So in many ways, this is one chapter in the history of struggle. We've undergone many types of struggle in Palestine. And it was significant because, as you said, it's the Great March of Return in the sense they reminded people of the essence, of the beginnings, of the issue that the Palestinians were expelled, that the vast majority of those in Gaza have their homes and lands and so on in what has become Israel. And many of them can see their homes and lands across. So they've put the emphasis, the focus back on the issue of exile, displacement, the replacement of the Palestinian people and the state of Palestine with another state that took over and appropriated everything. So they are reclaiming, first of all, the right to return, but they're also making a clear statement that resistance is an act of will. It's a human resistance, a human statement. It's an affirmation and an assertion of rights. And they paid a very, very heavy price. On the one hand, you have the height of sacrifice, the height of determination and spirit and resistance. And on the other, you have really the worst that an oppressive system can do. Sniper fire, shoot to kill, shoot to maim, in addition to the previous legacy of the bombing and the shelling and the destroying and the killing. So they have already a besieged captive area, highly congested, that they had bombed and shelled and created, a real tragic, human tragedy. And at the same time now, they are targeting people. They killed young men and women. They killed the health workers, nurses, and so on. They killed volunteers. I mean, it's just incredible how they use them for target practice in many ways. And then Israel claims self-defense, that these people are a threat to Israel. And so in a sense, this march placed things in their proper context. I mean, while we celebrate it and we know what a tremendous act, what a tremendous achievement it was, I also have a sense of deep sorrow at the horrific loss of life, at the tremendous suffering caused to many Palestinian families and individuals, at the ongoing deprivation of the people of Gaza. It's something that is entirely unconscionable. It should never have happened. It should not continue to happen. But unfortunately, Gaza is targeted. It is besieged, and it is under aggression in a variety of ways. And that spirit of resistance, and that we will not succumb, we will not be defeated, that we claim our rights, our freedoms, and so on, and our right to return. This is clear proof that the Palestinian people are not defeated, which is exactly what scares the Americans. As you know, Jared Kushner and others said, what you have to do is admit defeat. Just, surrender and say we're defeated. And the Palestinian people are not in the business of surrender, and they have never been, despite really very difficult conditions, and despite series of events that have been horrific in many ways. Yet the Palestinians have remained resilient, steadfast, and have maintained their spirit and their sense of cohesiveness as well.
Dr. Hanan, I recently visited Jerusalem for the first time in my life. I happened to be in Jerusalem when Trump's so-called deal of the century came out, the deal that many view as dead on arrival. It has dropped the refugees issue. It has dropped even the term occupation. Borders weren't mentioned. So I expected the Palestinians the following day to have no hope left in them. But I was surprised that their determination and belief that this deal will never happen without their approval. What are your views on that? Are you hopeful? Do you feel hopeful?
Look, there's something that has been a historical truth. Nobody can speak on behalf of the Palestinians. Nobody can deliver the Palestinians. and nobody can sign on behalf of the Palestinians, right? So they may, devise all sorts of things. They may devise all these pipe dreams and plans and whatever, and they may decide that this is how reality should be. Is the fact that I said this, I think, in a speech in Australia, in Sydney, years ago, that Israel's source of legitimacy is the Palestinians. And they know that. They know that. So that's why they put so much pressure on. They want us to recognize Israel as a Jewish state. They want us to adopt their own Zionist and ideological narrative. They want us to drop our own narrative and history, our own culture, because they know that we are the indigenous people. They know we are the people of the land. They know we have the rights. They know we are living within a rules-based system, that we have committed ourselves to human rights, to international law, international humanitarian law, and of course to the rights of our people. We will not surrender. So the issue is that Israel knows, so long as there is a single Palestinian claiming the right to Palestine, that Israel will feel insecure and unsure. One Israeli from the peace camp years ago, before it committed political suicide, used to tell me, I know why we don't trust you. I said, why? I said, because if anybody did to us what we did to you, we will never forgive and forget. So I said, we took decisions. We accepted the partition of Palestine. We accepted 2 states. We even, the PNC, gave up 78% of historical Palestine. They said, that's it, because the price has been too high. And in many ways, the insecurity translates itself, the knowledge that we really are right, no matter how much they invent stories and narratives, how much they steal our culture and food and our land, how much tabbouleh and hummus and falafel become Israeli. They're not going to be. No matter how many settlements they built and so on. There is a historical, legal, human, cultural truth to that basis, and that Israel was established on Palestinian land. It is a Nakba. It is a disaster. It is a catastrophe for us. And at the same time, they want us to internalize the Nakba, to normalize the Nakba, to normalize our victimization, and to accept Israel's version of reality, its right to self-defense, defending itself from its own victims, and at the same time malign the Palestinians, the use of labels and stereotypes, the question of terrorism and so on. So this is a very complex paradigm, as you know, with multi-tiered cultural, historical realities, and legal, of course, and political. But so long as the Palestinians persist, a solution cannot be imposed in the sense that they will get us to give away our rights. There will always be one generation after the other that will resist, that will say, this is our land, this is my right, this is my history, this is my culture. And that's the one thing that keeps the Palestinians going, knowing that Israel knows that it cannot continue to manipulate the narrative throughout the world, cannot continue to act as a rogue state forever. It cannot continue to flout international law forever. It cannot continue to subjugate the will of the international community at will and to condone its rights. Now the American administration is very busy, and basically Netanyahu and Trump have the same approach. They both want to stay out of jail. Both of them have certainly sufficient evidence for their indictment and even for real charges against them. And Netanyahu has been indicted on 3 counts of corruption, as you know. So he'll do anything to stay out of jail. And to stay out of jail, he needs to be also prime minister, and he needs to change the laws. And so he'll do anything to stay as prime minister and to stay out of jail, and to pursue his ideological policies of greater Israel over all of Palestine. Trump also needs his extreme right-wing fascist coalition throughout the world, with the Netanyahus of the world, with the Bolsonaros, with the Orbans, with the Modis, with the Dutertes. These are people who have created a real fascist, not just discourse, but a culture of unilateralism, a culture of a total disdain and disregard for international law and human rights and so on. And these are the people who are the natural allies of Netanyahu and Trump. And they're challenging, of course, the rules-based global system. And in order for Trump to win elections in November, he wants to send a clear message to his evangelical base, to the Zionist extreme Christian right-wing base, that he has delivered Palestine to Israel. He has made peace. So he did everything possible to help Netanyahu win, because he's his natural ideological ally. Even though he sides with the white supremacists, he sides with the racists, he sides with the anti-Semites in the US. And at the same time, he thinks that this is okay because he loves Israel and he protects Israel and he is fulfilling biblical prophecies according to the evangelicals, okay? So, and his son, of course, made a statement like, you know, they want to keep Europe Christian. I don't know if he said white, but he certainly said Christian. So they're aligning with the right-wing racist, white supremacists and so on. And these are anti-Semites at the same time. So it's a very strange coalition, but self-interest is at the core of this. Mm. And Trump wants to succeed. To him, saying that he made Middle East peace is a crucial requirement for his elections campaign. He's failed at everything else. I mean, of course, his base is going to think that he's God sent, they call him the Messiah anyway. But he needs to say he delivered Palestine to Israel and he made peace. And therefore he delivered and he wants payback at elections time. I don't know if it'll be enough to save him, but he certainly will not deliver peace because there will be no peace without our signature anyway. So what he's doing is just imposing punitive measures, trying to crush and destroy the Palestinians. And what he's done has not been done in history before to the Palestinians since '48. So they want to bring the Nakba full cycle to its conclusion. And this is where we are now. That's why we say it's a continuum. It's not an event. It is a tragedy that continues to unfold, and it has players in it who have their designs and agendas and self-interest within this.
Thank you so much, Dr. Hanan. It was wonderful talking to you today. It was a great insight into the whole situation on the ground.
Thank you, Hiba. It's lovely talking to you, and it's wonderful to see young women on the rise. You are the future, of course, and we have a lot of faith and confidence, quite a few expectations.
Thank you
for you in the future.
so much.
You've raised the bar really high, though.
No, you can do even better. Thank you. Thank you, Nahed. It's good to see you.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Dr. Hanan. And I would like actually to, on behalf of the Coalition for Justice and Peace in Palestine, Hiba and myself, to thank you so much indeed for joining us. And we hope to see you again in Australia one day. Thank you.
Thank you. Australia is a lovely country with lovely people. It just has to be set on the right track. You have to elect the right government.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
So
Take care.
Take care. Bye.
Bye-bye.